Hello, today we are going to talk about what rights you or someone you love has when ICE comes knocking on your door. That is the sound that all unauthorized immigrants in the U.S. are dreading. With the recent passage of the Laken Riley Act and the intense immigration efforts by the Trump administration, the anxiety and the fear right now in the immigrant community is at an all-time high. But here's the truth. Even if you are here undocumented or someone you know is undocumented, you still have constitutional rights under the U.S. Constitution. So we are going to cover today what rights those are, exactly what they are, and what to do if ICE indeed knocks on your door. I encourage you to stay with me until the end because it could mean the difference between you being in custody and you staying at your home. Okay, let's start with the most important right. Number one, you do not have to open the door. You have a Fourth Amendment right under the U.S. Constitution against any unlawful searches or seizures. So just because ICE comes to your door, you do not have to open it, unless, of course, they have a search warrant. And there is a difference between an ICE administrative warrant and a search warrant, which is signed by a judge. Most ICE agents don't actually get a search warrant, unless maybe they're conducting a big raid, as we've been seeing on TV. Most ICE agents will get an administrative warrant, and that's really just signed by them or another ICE agent. So if they have an administrative warrant, they have to execute it in public, and therefore you don't have to open the door. If they have a judicial warrant, on the other hand, which is signed by a judge, then yes, they have the right to enter your home and conduct a search. So how are you going to know, and what are you going to do? You can ask the ICE agent to show you the warrant, either by the window or sliding underneath the door without actually opening the door. And you can check the warrant to see if it has your correct name, has your correct address, and if it's actually signed by a judge. If it's not, and none of these things are true, you don't have to open the door. You also have the Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, which means if the ICE officer asks you questions, you do not have to answer them. The ICE officer might ask you, for example, what is your name? Where are you from? How did you enter the US? You do not have to answer any of these questions. So how are you going to answer? You can simply just say, I choose to remain silent. In fact, you can also hand over them it's called a Know Your Rights card. I actually have on my business card that I give to my clients these rights as well that say to the officer that you are choosing to remain silent and that you have an attorney or you would like to seek representation. Also want to mention that if you tell the ICE officer where you are from, for example, you are basically helping them build their deportation or removal case against you. Because one of the elements that ICE or the OPLA attorney, which is the attorney from the ICE office, has to prove against you is alienage. So they have to prove what country you're from in order to remove you. So by responding to that question, for example, you're giving them the evidence. Another example is if you tell them how you entered the US and that you didn't enter lawfully, you're also providing them probable cause for the arrest warrant itself. Number 3, do not sign anything that ICE gives you until you first speak to an immigration attorney. This is one of the biggest mistakes that immigrants make or non-citizens make when they are in the custody of ICE, is that they will sign documents without even understanding them. And even if they are in your own language, because many times these documents now are translated into Spanish, for example, you still might not understand them because it's involving legal terms. So, for example, there is a form I-826 that's often given to non-citizens or unauthorized immigrants right when they're placed into custody. And if you sign box number 3 on this form, it actually is basically saying that you agree to sign away your rights to appear before an immigration judge and that you agree to voluntary deportation. So definitely want to speak to an immigration attorney first, request to speak to one before signing any documents. All right, number 4, do not provide any false documents to ICE. In moments of fear and anxiety, it's very common for people to just panic and grab some documents to satisfy the ICE officer. You do not want to present anything that might be false. Why? Because it could hurt your case later, and you could also face criminal charges. So you will be in criminal detention in addition possibly to immigration detention. In fact, I did have a client, I remember, who tried to enter the US with a false US ID. I think it was like a passport. And by showing that, she did wind up in criminal custody and was charged by a federal criminal court instead of immigration custody, which is the more normal route for unauthorized immigrants who come over the border. Now, it's also important to note that if you are an unauthorized immigrant and you do make a false claim to US citizenship by, for example, showing a false ID, then you are going to be subject to a ground of both inadmissibility and removability. And this particular ground is non-waivable. Now, a lot of these rights we discussed, you can exercise if you are in the comfort of your own home. But what if you're outside of your home? What if you're at the grocery store, or in a parking lot, or at your workplace? Well, you still have the right to an attorney. So if you are in fact stopped by ICE, just stay calm, don't run away. Remember, you do have the right to remain silent, and you can also ask, am I free to walk away? If they do arrest you, you have the right to attorney and let them know that you would like to call an attorney. You have the right to a phone call to contact an attorney. And keep in mind, however, unlike criminal court, where you have a right to a free attorney or attorney at the government's expense, that's not the case in immigration law. So perhaps this might be something that you want to start thinking about in advance, saving money up towards, do a consultation with an attorney to find out how much it would cost to represent you if you are detained. It would be very smart to do. ICE is counting on people not knowing what their rights are when they come to their door. So let's recap exactly what your rights are. You have the right, number 1, to not open the door. And don't open the door unless you are assured that ICE has a valid search warrant that is signed by a judge. Number 2, you have the right to remain silent and not answer questions. Remember, if you do answer questions, you could be helping ICE create their case against you for deportation. Number 3, do not sign anything without an immigration attorney before consulting an immigration attorney. Number 4, do not provide any documents to ICE that are false, especially do not claim that show that you are claiming US citizenship. Number 5, if you are stopped in public, ask if you are free to leave. And if you are in fact arrested, remember you have a right to an attorney. If you liked this video, please, I would appreciate if you would like it. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. If you have any questions, you can definitely leave those questions in the comments, or even better, just contact me at my phone number, at my law firm. I'm here to help you. I'm here to fight for you.